Now, when my mother gets very angry, she yells the whole name. So can you imagine when she is very angry at me when I was little, she would go, Alejandro Mauricio Castro, come. So, now, my name, is it short or is it long? Long. It is very long, right? Actually, most Spanish names, because Colombia is a Spanish-speaking country, you will talk about it later, most names from Colombia are very long. Usually, we have two first names, okay? We have a first name and a middle name. You know how you have two characters in your name? For example, if your name is Minji, it is Min and Ji. If it's Minsu, it is Min and Su, right? My name is Alejandro Mauricio. That is my first and middle name, Alejandro Mauricio. My parents choose that name. Maybe in Korean culture, your grandparents in the Tolinja, they choose your name, I know that. But usually my parents choose my name, and they usually choose it, one, because they like the sound, or two, they name me after an uncle or a grandparent or somebody that they really loved. Second is, my third name is Castro. Which name do you think that is? That is my father's last name. My father's last name, okay? And then the last one, Salvat, is my mother's last name, okay? In Colombian culture, you always use both last names. Your father's last name first, and then your mother's last name. So, if you were Colombian, you would always put your father's last name, then your mother's last name, then your name, okay? So that is the way we do it. On our passports, everything, every document that we have has both names. And that way, it helps us not get confused with other people. For example, my father's name is Antonio Jose Castro Becerra. Very long name, right? Antonio Jose Castro Becerra. But my brother, he has the same name. But his name is Antonio Jose Castro Salvat. So people do not confuse the names, okay? And that's why we use both last names. Now, let's talk about where Colombia is. Okay, where is Colombia? That is Colombia, okay? So, is it in Europe? No. Is it in Asia? No. Is it in North America? No. Where is it? South America. Colombia is located on the corner. It is the corner country. Oh, let me see if I can come here. Oh, my shadow. The corner country of the South American continent. Okay? This is Colombia right here. And Colombia has 5 neighbors. 5 main neighbors. Ecuador, which is a little south. Peru, Brazil, Venezuela, and Panama. So that's Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Venezuela, and Panama. Those countries are very important because it is a big history of Colombia. We are all connected, okay? All those countries are connected. Also, Colombia has 2 ocean borders. 2 ocean borders. It is the only country in South America to have 2 ocean borders. So the Pacific Ocean. Which one's the Pacific Ocean in Korean? Oh, very good. And the Atlantic Ocean. Which one's that one? Very good. And actually, the sea right above it is the Caribbean Sea, which connects to the Atlantic Ocean. So, as you can see, that is Colombia here, the one to the north. This is the Caribbean Sea. You can see Jamaica, Dominican Republic, and this all connects to the Atlantic Ocean, taking you to Europe, where the first European settlers came. And if you go this way, from down here, you can come to Korea. Okay, it'll take you a very long time by ocean, but you will make it maybe. Also, what country is this? It is South Korea. I hope you know this country. Okay, how many provinces do you have? 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What about Jeju? You forgot about Jeju. It's okay. I'm sure people from Jeju will not be happy, but okay. They won't know. This is Colombia, okay? And a couple of important cities, like Seoul. It's quite a big city. But Colombia is divided into 32 provinces, okay? 32. You have 9, we have 32. Okay, the size of Colombia is bigger than Korea. But instead, we don't say provinces. We don't call them provinces. We have a word in Spanish, provincia, but we don't say that. We call them departments, departamentos. So what do we call them? Departments, okay? I believe the difference is that they have a little bit more autonomy. Do you know what autonomy means? Autonomy means that they can control themselves a little bit more. They're not so connected to the capital, okay? Now, statistics. Here's Colombia. Does anybody know the capital of Colombia? Very good, and I heard it over there too, Bogota. Bogota is the biggest city. It is the capital. It's about 10 million people in that city alone. But the population of Colombia is about 48 million people. 48 million people. To compare that, it is a bigger country than Korea, but how many people does South Korea have?
50 million.
50 million, about 50 million. So, Korea is a smaller country, and Colombia is bigger, but the population is about the same. So, there's as many Colombian people as there are Koreans, okay? Now, let's talk about this. What is this? This is the Colombian flag. Oh, so beautiful, yellow, blue, and red. You can make every color with these 3 colors, okay? But that is not the meaning of the flag, okay? Colombia has a tri-colored horizontal band flag. What is tri-colored? What does tri mean? It means 3. Colored, 3 colors. Horizontal, what is horizontal? It goes from left to right. Band flag, okay? These are our 3 national colors. They are everywhere. They're in that little thing at the top. We put them everywhere in Colombia. Colombian people are very proud of their flag, and they will wear it on everything they can. So, the first one, the yellow, what do you think it means? Well, it's right there. What does it mean? Riches and resources. Colombia is very rich in resource. Whether it's used correctly, that's something else. But it is very rich in resource. We have gold. We have black gold. Do you know what black gold is? Oil. Oil is very important, especially these days. We have oil. We have emeralds. What is an emerald? Like a jewels, okay? We have lots of rice and corn. We have lots. It is a very rich country with lots of resource. As you can see, the gold, these are our traditional golden objects. The blue, what does it mean? Waterways. The only country in South America to have 2 oceans. Also, we have major rivers that connect the Caribbean into the inside of Colombia. And also, we have part of the Amazon. And then the last one, the red. What do you think the red means?
Blood.
Huh? Blood, yes. It means blood, or the people, okay? Colombia is a country of mixed people. Our history is very rich. Originally, we started with the natives, and then the Europeans came, and then Europeans brought many African people, and somehow we made a big bibimbap. Okay? That's what we're going to call it. We mixed each other up, and this is what you get. A Colombian person. Okay? So we have lots of different people, different regions, lots of mixing, so it is a very mixed country. Okay, so more about it. So, everything in red. What is the same about everything in red? Spanish. Okay, the national language is Spanish. Okay, so we only speak Spanish. Some people learn English, some people learn French, but we usually speak only Spanish. That is the official language. Now, some of the native groups, they speak their own native languages still, But by law, everything is done in Spanish. Okay? So if you want to go to Colombia, please learn Spanish. Now, the national bird. Does anybody know what the national bird is? No? It's kind of a difficult bird. And it's not a very pretty bird. But the bird is called the condor. The Andean condor. And actually, the condor is endangered, unfortunately. But it stands for freedom. It's a very big bird. And it flies above the mountains of the Andes. And the Andes stretch from the north of Colombia down to the bottom of Colombia. So, this is our national bird. You can see it on our national emblems. You can see it on our stamps and things like that. Okay? And let's talk about money. Okay? Let's talk about money. In Korea, what do you use? Won. You use the won. Chonwon, Baekwon, like this, right? In Colombia, we use the peso. Repeat after me. Peso. Peso. Okay. Colombia uses the peso, and we divide it kind of like Korea, but a little bit more, okay? We put some smaller ones. We have the 20, we have the 50, we have the 100, we have the 200, we have the 500, and we have the 1,000. Okay, we have the 1,000. So, is the money kind of similar to Korea? Yes, we separate it, divide it the same way. Our biggest ones are in the thousands, and then it goes smaller, okay? So, the 20, actually, this year, I believe this year or next year, they will stop making the 20, the 21. Because it is like your shipwon. Nobody uses it. Nobody wants it. It's kind of useless. And then, actually, with the 20, they usually round to up or round down. So that way they don't use it. The 50 pesos, and on the back, that is a bear. It is a bear from our region. On the 100, it is a frajeon, which is like a national plant. Colombia has is one of the countries that has the most amounts of fauna y flora. Do you know what fauna is? Fauna is animals, and flora is plants. Very good. You can say it. Plants. So it's one of the plants that's native to Colombia. Very important. And then the 200 has the guacamaya. Guacamaya. What is the guacamaya? What do you think it is?
Is it plant?
Huh?
Is it plant?
No, the guacamaya is it's a bird. It's a very colorful bird. It's like a parrot, actually. It's a very beautiful big parrot. Sometimes, a long time ago, people had them as pets. And if you teach them, they can speak. So those are the parrots that speak. And then the 500 has the frog on it. I believe it is the frog that is poisonous, that you find it in the rainforest. And then the last one is the sea turtle, the endangered sea turtles, which are actually native to our shores, and those are the ones that travel around. Okay? Those are the ones that will live for 200 years, and they get really big, like this. Who has seen Finding Nemo before? Raise your hand if you've seen Finding Nemo. Yeah, like those turtles. That big one, it's like those. Okay? And they come from the ocean. Now, these are our bills. 1,000 bill, which that one will be canceled starting next year. The 2,000 bill, the 5,000 bill, the 10,000 bill, the 20,000 bill, and the 50,000 bill. These people on them, these are famous people that have changed Colombian history. The first man, he's a writer, I believe. The second man is Simón Bolívar, the liberator of Colombia. The third one is another writer. The fourth one is a woman. I believe she's a writer. Fifth one, I think he was a politician. And the last one was a scientist, I believe. Okay? So, 1,000 won is how much in pesos? How much is it? 2,600. So, every 1,000 won you have, you multiply it by 2,600. So, if you have man won, how much do you have?
26,000
pesos. 26,000 pesos. So, your money is very strong compared to Colombian money, right? That means if you go to Colombia, you can make double that. You double your money, okay? But what does that mean? What does that mean for you? For example, what is that? Coffee. I love coffee. Oh, coffee's so good. I bought a coffee before coming here. I will probably buy a coffee on my way out because I love coffee that much. All Colombians love coffee. So, how much is coffee here in Korea about? How much do you think?
5,000.
About 5,000? Oh. On the more expensive Starbucks, I know exactly. For a tall Starbucks Ice Americano, it is 4,100 won. So it's a little expensive. And two de jour is, I believe, 2,500 won for a cheap one. So in Colombia, it is about 500 to 3,000 pesos. 3,000 is like from Starbucks, from a very nice chain, and 500 is from a very cheap cafe. Okay, how much is that in won? This is how much it is in won. 190 won to 1,100 won. Okay, so that's how much it costs. Very cheap coffee, right? And then we have this. Oh my goodness, steak. We are meat-eating people. We love eating meat. And the green sauce on top is called chimichurri. It's made from plants and you put it on there. So, in pesos, it is about 30,000 pesos. How much do you think this is worth in Korea? If you go to Vips, how much is it? Do you know? About 50,000, right? Oh, so expensive. But in Colombia, very cheap. 11,500 for a big steak with vegetables and rice and this and that. Okay? Watering. Or you're like, meat. Because mine is. And then we have this. Buses, transportation, right? So, if you live in Cheongju and you want to go to Seoul, okay, if you live in Busan and you want to go to Seoul, let's say, okay, or if you are from Cheongju and you want to go to Busan, you usually take the bus. KTX is a little far. KTX you have to go to Oso. So, in Cheongju, if you want to go to these places, how much is it? About. Let's say if you want to go to Seoul. 7,000 won, right? About 7,000, 8,000 won, somewhere in between. And if you want to go to Busan, has anybody gone to Busan? It's about maybe 24,000 by Gosok, okay? So, in Colombia, it is 65,000 pesos, which is the same as 24,700. And the distance is longer. From Bogota to Medellin, which is the second biggest city, it is about 8 hours.
Wow.
Remember, it has lots of mountains and it's a tropical country that rains a lot, so it's a little bit, you have to go around. You can't just cut through the mountains making tunnels. Now, what is this? A burger set, McDonald's. McDonald's these days is becoming very popular in Colombia. Becoming popular in Korea. It's McDonald's becoming popular everywhere. So what can you buy? How much is a set here?
One.
A regular Big Mac set or bulgogi set, whatever. It's about how much?
6,000.
6,000 won, right? In Colombia, it is 13,000 pesos. And that is about 4,900 won. So a little bit cheaper. Okay, a little bit cheaper. So what is cheap in Colombia? What is cheap? Food. Food is very cheap because we grow a lot of food. We make a lot of food, we have a lot of animals, and we can have very good quality meat for less price. Okay? Now, these three things, what do you think I'm going to show you next? The history. Oh my goodness. That for some reason didn't show up. So before the Europeans, we had Native Americans. So it's very important. The Americas, we usually begin teaching history from the Europeans. But it is very important to know that before the Europeans, there were people there. People that came actually from Asia. So during the Ice Age, at the very top of North America, Russia and Alaska, which is from America, was connected. So people from Asia, I don't know exactly where, maybe Mongolia, China, Korea, who knows, they came over and they went all the way down to where Colombia is and then further down. Okay? They just made stops and then they separated. Okay? So it is very important to know before Europe, there were people there and they had a very rich culture. They could make things with metal like this and they had their own religion and things like that. These are all of the tribes in Colombia that still exist today. Their heritage. So there are still a lot of Native American heritages there. And then, so this is some more. So this is some of the things they do. What is this? Sidam, right? It looks like Sidam, like Korean traditional wrestling. But they do that also. So maybe, who knows, maybe they came from Korea. And you share some heritage. They do this. Oh, what is this? In English we call it archery. 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 So, what do they do in Korea? I heard you won an Olympic medal in this, right? Oh, so it seems like you have that in common too. Who knows? Maybe you're cousins. Maybe there's a Kim over there. And then, this man came. Who is this man? Columbus. Christopher Columbus. But it's funny you say Colombia, because I will get there too. So, that man came. That man came and brought all of Spain with him. Okay? Spain and the rest of Europe. And Colombia was a colony of which country? Spain. Can you guess? There you go. This is Spain. Actually, Columbus was originally from Italy, but the Italian king did not want to give him money, so he went to Spain. And the Spanish queen gave him money, and he came to first the Caribbean, here, to Dominican Republic, and then he went down, directly down, and that's where he got to Colombia. Okay? And that's how all of the, the Spanish were very lucky because they gave him the money, and look at everything that Spain controlled afterwards. Like there's Colombia, Spain, very good. And, Colombia is actually named after Columbus. Okay, that is why they named Colombia. They named it in honor of Christopher Columbus, which in Spanish is Colón. So, which one is the flag of Colombia? The third. See, right? This is Colombia. What's the first flag, do you know? Venezuela, Ecuador, and then the last one is Panama. Now, why am I showing you this? They're very similar. Why do they have similar flags?
Because they were all the colony of Spain.
They were all a colony of Spain, and then after the colony, something happened. They all used to be one country. They all were one country together. When they fought against Spain and they said, we are our own country, we are Colombia. And together they fought against Spain and they became the country of the Great Colombia, La Gran Colombia. But then, they are sisters and they fight. Okay, which one's the most beautiful, which one is the best, this and that. And they all had their own pride and then they split up in 1831. They divided. And that's why Venezuela, Ecuador, and Colombia have very, very similar flags. Panama, actually in 1903, Panama was still part of Colombia, but what is there in Panama? What is there?
Panama Canal.
There's the Panama Canal. Who helped make the Panama Canal? Do you know? America helped. America helped make the Panama Canal. So America was like, oh, why don't you divide from Colombia? And Panama did. And that's why their colors are kind of similar to the American one. Okay, some more history. Now Colombia is a modern country. We are a very modern country. We have big cities like Bogota, 10 million people. This is the night in Colombia. It can look kind of like Seoul, depending on where you are, right? Or Daejeon, or Busan, or wherever you go. But Colombia, like Korea, is a very traditional country. This is a traditional home in Colombia. This is the royal church, the the church where in the capital, where the royalty used to go. And this is one of the oldest basilicas in the Americas, which is carved into a mountain. So it's a very traditional country also. We have modern things and then we have traditional things, both equally living together. Like you have Seoul and then you have the Hanok village in Seoul, right? So we have three main things when we eat. So talking about traditional food. Oh, and I'm hungry. So almost all Colombian foods come with rice. What does your food almost come with? Rice. Very similar. If we don't eat rice, which for me personally, I like eating rice with almost all my meals, lunch and dinner, we might have potatoes or we might have plantain or something. We always have meat. Usually we can eat all types of meats in Colombia, pork, chicken, beef, or fish, but usually we eat what kind of meat? Beef. Beef is quite cheap. And then we have fruits and vegetables that we always have, salads and things like that. So, some of our traditional foods. This is our national dish. We call this dish bandeja paisa. Bandeja paisa. Bandeja paisa. Now, this is what we call the farmer's food. Why? Because they have a lot of different things that can give you lots of energy. So, first we have beans. You eat beans, but they're quite sweet. You put them in tok, and then you kind of make them into like a paste. Ours are quite salty, and we always mix them with rice also, but they're salty. We have an avocado, which is that green thing there. It is a vegetable. We have rice. We have plantain, which is like a really big banana, but it is not as sweet. It can be salty. It can be sweet too, but it can also be salty. And then we have a sauce over there. We put that sauce with our meat. Then we have a lime, because the lime we put it over the meat. We have fried pork. Actually, we put it on top of the fried pork. We have a sausage. We have a fried egg. And we have beef. The beef, we make it almost into a powder so that we can mix it all. Kind of like a bibimbap, we mix it. We like to eat it like that. And then we also eat this. We call this empanadas. Empanadas. Now, what does an empanada look like to you? Mandu, right? It's very similar to mandu. With the difference that the dough, what is the dough? Like the flour dough, okay? Yours is made out of milcaru or flour dough. Ours is made from corn. The outside is made from corn, okay? And we also fry it. Well, you also fry yours, good. You eat it, what do you eat your mandu with? Kanjang. We eat ours with a sauce made from lime, vegetables, tomatoes, and onions. That's how we eat ours. And we put it inside the empanada. You dip it, we put our sauce inside. We take a bite, and then we put the sauce inside. Okay? And that way inside, usually it's beef with a little bit of potato and some vegetables. And that just gives you the extra taste. This is similar to Korean food. Now, a traditional food. This is a very, very traditional food. Oh my God. What is it? An ant. So this is what a regular ant looks like. The regular ants that you see, this is what we call una hormiga culona. Hormiga culona. Hormiga culona. Hormiga means ant or kemi, and culona means butt. Your butt. So it's a big butt ant. That's what we call it. So what do we do with this? How do we eat it? Do we just pick it up and eat it? No, of course not. We fry them. Like this. We fry them. And then we put some salt with them. Everybody's going like, oh my God, But actually, This is kind of similar to a certain Korean food. What food?
번데기.
Bondaegi, right? It's the same thing. Except ours is crunchy and salty, and yours is like made with a certain sauce, and I believe you grill it or bake it or something. So yeah, it's kind of the same. It's not so bad. And actually, I've had this. They actually sell some of these in a certain region. So in Korea, when you go to the movies, you want to eat squid, right? Or popcorn or something like that. They sell this. Oh, but it's so good. It tastes like popcorn. And these days, they have many flavors. They have a spicy flavor. They have a sweet flavor. So, very good. And then, can you guess what a Colombian person's favorite drink is? Coffee. We love coffee. Why do we love coffee? Do you know?
Colombia coffee.
Yes, we grow it. These are our coffee fields, which kind of look like your tea field. I guess they all look the same. But coffee actually has to grow on the side of a mountain. The elevation is very important to make a good coffee. So countries that grow coffee are usually tropical countries, because you need warm weather, that have mountains. And this is what a coffee bean looks like before you process it. Okay, before you process it. Okay. And this is the roasted coffee with the fresh coffee beans. Okay, and then we have sports. Who likes sports here? Who likes to play sports? Raise your hand if you like sports. What kind of sports do you like to play? Badminton, soccer, what? Baseball. Okay, these are kind of the big sports in Korea. You also have your own sports like volleyball, right? Well, what is Korea's favorite sport?
Baseball.
Soccer. We love soccer. This is Federación Colombiana de Fútbol. This is always on the jersey, which I forgot to bring my jersey. I would have shown you. But we put this on our jersey. We sell the jersey for the people because we are very proud of our teams. Now, if you like soccer and you're a good fan of soccer, can you name any Colombian soccer stars?
Rodriguez.
James Rodriguez. There you go. He is very famous. Why is he famous?
World Cup.
In the World Cup. For the FIFA World Cup, the last one was in Brazil, right? In Brazil, he scored 6 goals. So he pretty much scored a goal for each of his games. And he became really famous because the other famous guy, Falcao, did not go because he was injured. So James Rodriguez is now really, really famous in Colombia. Everybody knows his face. And he is now, I think, in Madrid. Playing for Madrid, for Barca? Not sure. Also, we have many famous actors. Who has seen the show Modern Family? Has anybody seen the show Modern Family? You have? Is it a funny show? It's a comedy show. It's an American comedy show. This is what it is. You have a mom and a dad. You have an international couple. You have 2 children, a couple of children, a mom right there, and then you have a same-sex couple. Okay, so it's a very comedy show. And this lady here, she is Colombian. If you ever have time to watch the show, I recommend watching the show. She is very funny. Sometimes we show it to our students for culture things because it shows the modern American family. But this is her, Sofia Vergara. Can anybody guess her age? 30s. She's actually older than that. She is older. She should be like in her 40s, almost 50s. But she looks very good. She takes care of herself very well. If you hear her accent, it's a very typical accent from a Colombian person learning English, from a Spanish person learning English. So it's you can tell who she is immediately. My mom is actually from her same hometown. Oh. And then we have this man, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He wrote a very famous novel that won a Nobel Prize, 100 Years of Solitude. Something? Yeah, 100 Years of Solitude. It is a very famous Latin American book. Almost all people in Colombia have to study this book. In universities, if you take Spanish and you take Latin American culture, you have to study this book. Why? Because it shows a very traditional Colombian or Latin American culture, and it shows how family is very important and how people interact with each other culturally. So it is a very important book. This is the cover. Cien Años de Soledad is the name in Spanish. And it is a very defining book. Also, it is the beginning of a specific Latin American theme, which is magical realism, which is a very Latin American Colombian theme. Also, Fernando Botero, this man. What do you think he does? What does he look like? A politician? No, he's not a politician. Huh? President? No.
Is he scientist?
He is an artist. Wow. Did your homework. This is his art. They are all what? What are they? Skinny or fat? They are all very fat. There's a big museum. He is from Medellin, the second biggest city. And if you go to Medellin ever in your life, you will see all of his statues and things around in the city. Also, if you travel around the world, you can see his statues like this one. It's a very big one. I've personally been to Singapore, and there in Singapore, I look at a statue there, and I'm like, oh, this looks really familiar. Oh. I look around, and then I look this way. Oh, I think it's Botero. And then I look down, and it says Botero. So I was like, oh, I know my people. And actually, if you ever want to see a Botero here in Korea, you can. Where do you think you can see it? No. In Seoul, you can see it, but where? Not the art center. You can see it actually at the Colombian embassy. Ah, but where's the Colombian embassy? In Gwanghamun. Okay? Gwanghamun, by the big Sejong, near the American embassy, there's a big building, the Kyobo building. Inside, you can see the Botero. One or two, I think. They have a big statue. So if you ever want to see a Botero in real life, you can go there. And then we have this lady, this lovely lady. Who is she? Do you know? She has done 2 FIFA World Cup songs. She is Shakira, international music star, Shakira. She did 2 songs. You know that one song that goes like, waka, waka? She did that one. And then this last FIFA World Cup, she also did that. She's a very famous singer, and she is also dating a very famous Spanish soccer star. So she is one of our biggest stars. Okay, and so music. Colombia has a lot of different kinds of people, right? A lot of people, a lot of mixed people. So we have a lot of musical traditions. We have a long history, and we have a lot of kinds of dances and music. So I'm actually going to show you a video of it, okay? So these are regional ones from different areas of the country. Traditional ones of the farmers, and these are usually courting. You know what courting is? When the man wants to date a woman. So these are our European ones, the ones that come from like a polka and stuff. This is what they became in Colombia. These are from our cowboys. And then we have a big African population. These are from our African descendants. These are the African songs. And this is from Carnaval. Carnaval is like the same one in Brazil. You know what Carnaval is, right? It is the same one. We have the second biggest in the world also. And then the natives. And that's it. So thank you very much. Or in Spanish we say gracias. Thank you.
Thank you for your brilliant lecture. 자, 우리 박수님께 박수 한번 다시 보내주세요. 그러면 첫 번째 조부터 그리고 말씀하실 때는 그쵸 긴장도 되고 좀 떨리기도 하고 그렇잖아요. 또 마이크 들고 이렇게 앞에서 말하려면 본인 소개도 크게 하시고 유창하게 잘 안 하셔도 돼요. 자신감 갖고 큰 소리로 질문하시면 그쵸 좋을 것 같아요. 그럼 첫 번째 그룹부터 할까요? 자, 첫 번째 그룹 한번 그러면 발표자랑 튜터랑 같이 한번 나와주세요.
Hi, we're from Group 1 and I'm tutor Kim Kyung-hee. We have 3 questions for him and we will start from now on.
My name is Nam Kyubin and I'm curious about traditional clothing.
Traditional clothing. Usually I talk about it, but because of the time, I didn't have time. Today we just dress like this, like every other modern country, but originally we have what we call a ruana, which is like a big kind of sheet with a hole in the middle, and you put it over like this, and it keeps you warm high up in the mountains. Also, we have a traditional hat that is called sombrero volteado, and that hat is made from a natural leaf, and you put it together.
Thank you.
My name is Cha Ju-yeok, and I was interested in how Colombians study compared to Korea.
Koreans study very hard, and they have hagwons and they stay late hours. But Colombians, most people, we have both public school and private school, but most people go to private schools. And you start early, maybe around 8 in the morning, like in Korea, but you finish much, much earlier, maybe around 3 p.m.
Thank you.
My name is Chang Jae-ho, and I want to ask if there is tablets in different regions.
Yes, Colombia has many, many mountains. So because in between the mountains you get different culture, like regions. So similar to Korea. So certain areas by the sea speak more like with a sharp and lots of intonation. If you live high up in the mountains, you kind of sing it more. It sounds more sing-songy. So the intonations and the different dialects are a lot. And if you meet a different Colombian and you hear them, you immediately know, oh, you're from this area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Colombia. It's with an O. With an O. C-O-L-O. There's 2 O's in Colombia, everybody.
Hi, we are Group 2, and I am Kim Sung-won of Group 2. We have discussed so many things, and we choose 3 questions to ask you.
My name is Shim Soo-hyun, and you told us that Colombia has lots of different religions. So I'm wondering if you have lots of religion conflicts or civil wars.
No. Most people have now converted to Catholicism. Those that aren't, it's not a big problem. Most people just kind of respect each other's religions. Sometimes in the native area, the natives don't want to change, or they didn't want to change. Or a long time ago, when Spain first came, there was a lot of conflict. But now everybody is very respectful of each other's religions, and there's no problems.
Hi, my name is Song Sonu, and I want to ask, what is the meaning of Fernando Modero's artwork?
Fernando Modero's artwork, that's a very good question. To be honest, it's like he draws a lot of political drawings, and a lot of his drawings have very political meanings because the history of Colombia has lots of problem in politics. So a lot of the things that he used to draw were of presidents and things like that. However, the aspect of being fat, we don't know why. He just likes fat people.
Hello, my name is Kang Myun-ha. When did you eat big butt ants?
I ate for the first time big butt ants when I went to Colombia in 2009 or 8 maybe. I went on a trip to that area that's very common. And I was really curious, and they were selling it like street food. So I bought a pack, and then I ate it. It's really good. It tastes like popcorn. I recommend it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
From Group 3, and my name is Kim Ji-young, tutor of Group 3, and we have 2 questions. One is that according to your lecture, on the flag, the color red means mixed races, different races, and I guess there isn't any race discrimination in Colombia.
A long time ago, like any country that first encounters new races, there were problems with the racial division. There's a whole, and I could teach so much about it, but there was a whole caste system based on how mixed you were. I wouldn't say that there is per se racial problems in Colombia where they're very honest about it. However, it is a deep-seated historical problem in Colombia. However, most people would never treat another person badly because of their race.
Is there any famous sightseeing in Colombia?
Yes, in Colombia we have many. The church that I showed you in the picture, we have many traditional towns, and some of our biggest things, for example, is a salt cathedral. It is a cathedral. Do you know what a cathedral is, right? 대성당? Yeah, 대성당. It is built inside a salt mine. So a salt mine is people who go and they carve the salt and then take it out to be processed into the regular salt. So inside they have a salt mine. They have a cathedral, and it's very big, very beautiful. You can see all the salt rocks around it.
소금광 하는데 그 안에 그 유명한 큰 대성당이 있대. 너무 신기하다, 그치? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, we are group 4 and 5, and I am the tutor Yukisul, and this is the tutor Ije. And we have some questions about your lecture. First, in the novel 100 Years of Solitude, you said there is magical realism. Then I'm curious what that is.
Magical realism. It is a specific genre. Does everybody know what genre means? It is a specific literature genre that starts from South America, and it is about common day things. For example, water. The way they describe water is like water flows down and then it turns right and then it turns left until it meets what it needs to meet. But as we know, reality, water doesn't meet anything. Water just travels in the way it wants to. So it gives sort of a magical life and an exotic view of Latin America and the way things happen. For example, in one of the characters, he is an Arab man that travels for many years. About 700 years. He's seen the rise of man in different cultures until he meets the main characters, and then he dies and then he comes back. Obviously that's not real and humans can't do that, but in the story itself, it kind of gives it a realistic approach to it, like it actually happened. Understand? Alchemist. I have never read The Alchemist, so I don't know. But he is the writer of The Alchemist is Brazilian, I believe, right? Yeah, I believe it's connected, similar to that. Yeah, Pablo Coelho.
Hello, my name is Choi Hyun. I'm curious about what's the mystery of Garcia's novel.
What's the mystery of Garcia's novel?
Yes.
It's at the very end, if you want a spoiler. So it talks about a family and through different generations, and like in European culture, people would marry their family members, but not like brothers, like cousins and stuff, to keep money circulating in the same family. So at the very end, the last child is born with a tail. So it talks about family and how interconnected they are.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kim Jin-young, and I saw your profile on the handouts, and you were born in the United States and immigrated to Colombia, and I wonder the reason why you immigrated to Colombia.
No. My parents are born in Colombia, and they immigrated to America, so they are immigrants. So for me, I'm born in America, but my parents are still Colombian. And I have two nationalities, Colombian. So actually every year I would study in America, like 7 months, 8 months, however many months. And then I would go to Colombia for about 3 months and then come back.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for answering.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
You're group 6 and I'm the tutor of group 6, Yoo Soo-bin. First, thank you for your great lecture. We summarized what you have said and we had 3 questions. First, you said that the transportation fee in Colombia is a little bit expensive because there are a lot of mountains or something. And do Colombians build tunnels or roads to shorten the distance, or they like to protect the nature?
That's a very good question. Within the cities themselves, when we are developing better transportation, there are very strict laws about cutting trees inside a city. Colombians like very green cities, so to cut a tree down, there has to be a major problem. For example, they would prefer to have the road going like this instead of straight, just to protect the tree. In the case of tunnels and stuff, Colombia, it has very high mountains, and the mountains are very wide also. So what happens is, also it's in the tropics, so it rains, and the land is very moist. So what happens is that they have to be very careful when they build a tunnel, because there could be a landslide, because there's not enough dry soil to keep the land there. So you start cutting around it, all of a sudden the land goes boom. So they have to be very careful when they build tunnels. And also, I think generally people like to preserve the country and its natural beauty.
Hi, my name is Kim Minji. Are there any other kinds of eagle other than condor?
We have, actually Colombia is one of the countries that has the most species of animals and birds, and especially butterflies. We are the country that has the most butterflies. So we do have a lot of endangered animals, especially some of the birds. The guacamaya, one that we talked about, the parrot that speaks, is also endangered, and we have some endangered monkeys and things like that.
If so, why Colombia choose condor as national bird?
The condor, I think we chose it. I don't exactly know the reason why it was chosen, but it is it's because, like I said, it's in the mountains. It's a very common bird in the mountains, and probably the settlers chose it based on the fact that it was very common to see.
And our final question is, you mentioned about the 4 countries, and I want to know the relationship of the 4 countries nowadays.
Colombia has very strong ties with the USA, and so does Panama. So Panama and Colombia are very close, and they always strive to develop themselves. However, currently in Ecuador and in Venezuela, the governments of those 2 countries don't always see eye to eye, or don't always agree with Colombian politics or American politics. So sometimes we have a couple of border issues with them, especially with groups that travel inside and out of each countries that cause problems for Colombia and vice versa. So sometimes we have disagreements there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, we are group 7 and 8, and I'm tutor of the group 7 Eugene, and we have several questions to ask you.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Choi Tae, and I have the question. Can you recommend the famous place that we should go when we travel to Colombia?
Yes. There's so many places. I would recommend that cathedral that I mentioned before. Also, if you have time, Cartagena de Indias. Cartagena is one of our oldest cities, and it has a beautiful fort that looks out into the Caribbean Ocean. And it's a port city, so you can eat delicious seafood, and very traditional culture and activities are found there. So I would really recommend Cartagena.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jo Junhee. I'm 15 years old, and if I'm in Colombia, when is my coming of age ceremony?
When you become an adult? Most Colombians are considered adults at the age of 18. And usually men must register for the military. Women do not. Lucky women. But you would have to register, and in some cases they have military service for men, like in Korea. However, the difference is if you attend university, it is not required to go for the 2 years. Instead, you pay a tax kind of for not going.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Hyun-tae. I know Colombia popular coffee is Tinto. I'm curious about Tinto.
Tinto, it is very popular. It is actually, when people come over to visit, we always offer it. So Tinto, or it's like black coffee, is like an espresso in a slightly bigger cup and a little bit more watered down. Not so concentrated. but it's still very strong. And we usually add a little bit of sugar. Some people prefer milk, but sometimes we have a little bit of coffee candy to eat with it. Thank you.
Hola, my name is Joe. I'm very interested in soccer, so I want to know about soccer league of the Colombia and famous soccer player in Colombia.
We do have a couple of famous soccer players. Our two most famous, as you know, is Falcao and James Rodriguez. Both of them are super famous. We have our own leagues in Colombia. For example, in my father's town, they have two leagues, América y Deportivo Cali. And in my mother's town, it's Junior, and in the capital, Millonarios. So we have a lot of clubs. Also, those clubs usually compete in the American Cup. And Colombia has a very strong soccer history. And in the American Cup, Once Caldas, which is one of the clubs, won it maybe 1 or 2 times. Gracias. De nada.
Hi, we're from group 9. In our school, we take class World Geography, and I heard the name of Colombia so many times, but I didn't know much about it. So anyways, we have several questions to ask you. First thing is, do students learn English or other different languages as second language, like Korean students?
Usually English is a required subject, like it is in Korea. However, as I said before, many schools are privatized, so many students go to private schools. Of those, some of them are bilingual schools, usually with English, that being the most common one. However, many of my cousins actually, they studied German. And I believe Chinese is also becoming quite popular now because of the rise of China economically. But usually a European language is most dominant, but overall English is mostly the secondary language. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ho Sang-hyun. I heard many Colombians believe Roman Catholic. Then what's the second most important religion for Colombians?
The second most religion, so Roman Catholicism is a branch of Christianity in which most people follow. Overall though, the second most dominant one would be a regular Christian, like of a certain denomination, like Mormons, Evangelicals, Anglicans, something like that. And then after that, maybe Judaism.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I heard for Colombia and America have conflict each other. Is it to immigrant Colombia to America now?
A long time ago they did have the problem with Panama. And then in the 80s there was an internal problem of Colombia that affected the US politically. But overall, a Colombian does require a visa to enter the United States, so they must apply through the American Embassy to enter the US. They can't just go like you can for 3 months or to a different country. However, that ban with America still continues, but with other countries such as Europe, that ban has been canceled starting, I believe, in November. So slowly but surely it is becoming easier for a Colombian to immigrate or to go to the US. You're welcome.
I'm a tutor of Group 10 Unit Half, and we have 3 questions.
In the lecture, we could see coin and bills, and I saw 1,000 peso coin and 1,000 peso bill. Are there only reason for that? And which one do people use more often? 1,000 peso coin or bill?
That's a very good question, actually. Originally, we used to have a 1,000 peso bill, and then we introduced the 1,000 peso coin and canceled the bill. However, the coin was counterfeited. Do you know what counterfeit means? Counterfeit means illegal copy. It was counterfeited a lot, so they restarted making the bill. But now they have changed the design and increased the security of the coin. So what they want to do is cancel the 1,000 bill and reintroduce the 1,000 coin. So they're slowly changing it like that.
Thanks.
We heard about history of Colombia. Were there any historical relationship between Colombia and Korea?
Korea and Colombia. A long time ago, there really hasn't been any connection, but recently Colombia and Korea have been creating a lot more business relationships. A long time ago, not really, but now there's a lot of Korean companies like Hyundai and Kia and LG and Samsung that sell a lot of products in Colombia and for a very good rate. So lots of Colombians are buying Korean products. Also, last time I went, when I went to the supermarket, I saw on a Samsung TV, I saw Girls' Generation, Sonyeonjide just playing. So I was like, oh, so it's slow. I believe the Hallyu wave also is coming.
It is the last question. We tried to ask about Colombians' recognition about Korea, but you told them.
Yes.
Girls' Generation and Samsung.
They know. For example, Samsung might be a Korean company, and they are slowly starting to wake up to Asia as a whole continent in order to do business. And start to do business with China, Korea, Japan, and all the countries. However, I would say that overall, it's still very new to them. Just like doing business with Colombia is very new to Korea. So they can recognize some things, but not a lot of things. Still, for example, if they hear North Korean news, they might think, oh, South Korea is in danger, like that.
Then, when you moved to Korea, didn't your friends or families worry about it?
Some of my family members were worried. They would say like, "Oh, but there's that crazy Kim Jong-un up there." But I reassured them that my father has been to Korea for business purposes quite often, and he knew, and he would tell them, "Oh, it's no big deal. Korea is a very rich and safe country." So when I first came, my father calmed all of my family members and my friends down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you for your excellent lecture, and we have 2 questions for you.
Hello, my name is Chae Young-le. I want to know, does Colombia people like Korean food?
Korean food is quite new to Korea, so the idea of Korean food is very still strange. However, those that try kimchi and like the combinations like pajeon and things like that, Colombians quite do like it. They do like it, especially like pajeon and things like that are very similar to our food. So we do like most of it.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Hwang Se-jung. What kind of season does Colombia have?
So the Colombian seasons is very interesting. So in Korea, they have 4 distinct seasons, like the US or in Europe. Certain months are certain seasons, right? Well, in Colombia, because it is in the tropics, it is usually always warm. However, so it's like a very tropical country. However, Colombia has very high mountains. So for example, Bogota always feels like fall weather, like this. Medellin always feels like spring weather. And there's no winter weather anywhere, but in the coast it feels always like summer. So just depending on where you fly to, so if you fly to the capital, you're in fall. If you fly to the coast, you're in summer.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
자, 잘 들으셨어요? 자, 이제 혹시 많이 못 알아들어서 난 그동안 영어 공부 안 한 거야 뭐야 이렇게 실망한 학생 있지 않죠? 잘 못 알아들으셨어도 걱정 안 하셔도 돼요. 이제 이거를 또 이제 몇 번 지금 이제 이렇게 공개 강좌를 들은 학생도 있을 텐데 오늘 처음 온 학생들도 있잖아요, 그렇죠? 자, 이렇게 하는구나. 좀 리스닝 공부를 조금 더 열심히 해볼까? 그런 마음을 가지고 한 달에 한 번씩 하거든요. 한 달에 한 번씩 참여해서 같이 이런 시간을 갖다 보면 이제 자신감도 좀 생길 것 같고 오늘 발표들도 너무 다 잘했어요. 큰 소리도 씩씩하고 자신감도 보였고 저 다음 달에는 12월 19일에 또 할 거거든요. 그래서 잊지 말고 12월 19일 토요일 오전 시간을 비워놓으시고 이제 여기 보면 홈페이지에 들어가셔서 신청하시면 돼요. 그리고 마치기 전에 여기 국제협력단 CICC 여기 단장님께서 공지사항 말씀 잠깐 하실 거예요. 네, 잠깐만 기다려주세요.
네, 안녕하십니까. 충북국제협력단의 조동찬 단장입니다. 나한테 박수 치기 전에 오늘 선생님한테 박수를 한번. 우리 튜터분들은 매월 와서 5번째 오늘 CICC 토크 원어민 영어공개강좌를 위해서 수고해 주셨어요. 공부도 하셨고 또 동생들, 후배들한테 도와주셔서 감사드리고 충북국제협력단 여러분들 들어오실 때 그 인생을 나눠드린 거 있죠? 자원봉사 인증할 수 있는 것도 있고 유익한 프로가 많으니까 여기에 학생인원으로 가입을 하면 여러분들이 오늘은 게스트로 오신 거예요. 게스트로 오셔서 그런데 학교에서 자원봉사 시간이 필요하잖아요. 회원이 되면 정식 회원이 되면 자원봉사 시간도 인증이니까 참고로 해주시고 회원으로 가입하시면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 매월 한 차례 넷째 주 원칙적으로 넷째 주 토요일 이 자리에서 10시 반에 해요. 그래서 10시 15분에 체크인을 해서 여기 자연스럽게 들어오시니까 이번 12월 19일도 기대하시고 매월 할 거예요. 이렇게 오늘 미스터 카스트로 같은 분이 청주 시내에 계신 원어민 선생님들이 오셔서 자기 나라 얘기 또는 부모님의 나라 얘기를 할 겁니다. 많이 관심 가져주시고 미리 공부해 오시는 분들도 있었어요. 제가 보니까 콜롬비아에 대해서 지난달에는 프랑스를 했는데 프랑스에 대해서 아주 미리 많이 준비해 와서 더 많이 알아보기 위해서 노력하는 학생들을 들었습니다. 여러분들 혹시 오늘 많이 못 알아들었더라도 절대 실망하지 마시고 이런 걸 계기로 해서 좀 더 많이 알아들을 수 있도록 노력해야 되겠다라는 그런 생각만 들었다 하더라도 굉장히 큰 성과다 저는 이렇게 생각합니다. 여러분들 오늘 아침 일찍 정신이라고 수고하셨어요. 감사합니다.